this is a mold. This is what's called a sprue. This is called a sprue cutter. The sprue cutter is struck with a stick and it cuts these little dabs here where the lead goes in, and then at that point you end up with a bullet that you see there. And at the very end, I'm going to take a minute and mention, just so it's fresh in your mind, how to make sure that your molds always drop their bullets easily. These are aluminum molds. The aluminum molds are not as durable. They do offer some advantages because lead does not stick to aluminum. When you hit this and break the sprue, again, you slide your thumb down here, flip open, tap to the side, and the bullets slide out. In here you're going to see a soot. This soot was built up by matches, and what I do is to take a match and smoke the inside of the mold to leave that black soot. Now it takes several matches to do that. I smoke both sides. I might smoke it like this with it partially open. I'll smoke the holes, and then I'll smoke the back side of the sprue cutter. This soot makes it much easier to eject the bullets, and they don't stick to the soot. Now, normally lead does not stick to aluminum anyway, but with the soot it adds an element of lubrication that would otherwise be left out. I do the same thing with the steel molds. Now, there's one thing you need to know about a steel mold. From the factory they come with a coat of oil. And that coat of oil protects that mold and will do so until you use it. As you're working with the oil on these molds, you have to remove it. And the best way to remove the oil is to use brake parts cleaner. Now they've recently done a new development and added chlorine to brake parts cleaner. Do not buy that type. Buy the one that has no chlorine, that's simply solvents. The cheapest you can buy is generally just as good as any. You spray it over the mold, let it drip off, use a clean terry cloth towel, wipe the mold down real good. You might want to spray it again, get all the oil off, and you're ready to go. When you store your mold, you put on another coating of oil, and then you put your mold away, and it'll be good until the next time you use it. If you don't do that, what will occur is it can build up into a ball of rust. It will also rust in the cavities. Now some people leave their bullets in the cavity just like this, and then they expect the bullet to create an air barrier, even though they will have the outside of the mold rust, and they expect it to stay good. It doesn't. It rusts around the bullet as well. So if you want to leave a bullet in the cavity, you spring the mold open slightly, run your oil inside, make sure it's well coated, and then you smear the whole outside of the mold, and it will be ready for the next time you use it. I think we've covered quite a bit about a few things that would help you as far as using your molds, and as far as how the molds work. I'm going to cover that right now. Just like the ingot, you have to drive so many calories into this ingot in order to make it so that it doesn't chill the pot. So many calories of liquid, of the heat from the liquid lead have to go into the bullet cavities and into the mold in order to gel the bullet. So again, it's just like an ice cube tray. You put water in an ice cube tray, it has to give off so many calories of heat to turn to ice. The same thing with the lead. It has to give off so many calories of heat in order to turn into a gelled bullet. If I work this mold too quickly, what will occur is lead will smear on the bottom of the sprue cutter here. When it's closed, it will be off-centered and lifted slightly, and that off-centering then will cause the bullet not to fire accurately. When the bullet is fired, there'll be a gas release prematurely from one side. The bullet then will wobble downrange and hit your target. It gives you what's called a keyhole shot, because the bullet will pierce the target at an angle like this instead of point first. So we want to make sure that the bases of our bullets are as good as possible. I'm going to mention this at the end, but I'm going to mention it here as well. When you have to adjust your molds, for example, one gives you a problem, you do a brief adjustment, and then you would adjust the whole set. If you will do that, it'll save you time. If I stop and adjust just this mold, well, this one may give me problems in a few minutes, and then this one may give me problems in a few minutes. If I adjust them all at the same time, it saves me a lot of problems. So I think we've covered pretty much about how things work, how the calories of heat are trapped in the mold. They have to have time to release, and so that's why using multiple molds allows you to move with more speed and bullet casting. We've told you about smoking the mold. The matches are important. I do want to mention that one fellow on the internet said to use a candle. Do not use a candle. It puts a waxy film inside your mold. And then what it does is it causes the bullets to wrinkle. That wax will start to boil as that hot lead goes in there, and it will wrinkle the bullets. So wax and molds are not good except for lubricating your mold, and I cover that in my book, and that's only for the aluminum molds. The aluminum molds are not as durable, but when they're lubricated appropriately, where you have no wax in the cavities, but when they're lubricated appropriately, they will last for years as well and offer good service. So those are just a few of the things that are important for bullet casting. You're going to see me warm ingots in this pot when I throw them in, and I have a chill come over the pot. This is the same lead pot, or the same type of lead pot. As you see me put the ingots in the demonstration, you're going to see me put a torch on the ingot. This ingot will sink in at a depth, and then you'll see me put a torch on it in order to heat this. I'm driving heat into the whole pot. If the top of the pot chills where this ingot is, I'm usually able to continue to work because there's a cell of hot lead down here at the bottom that allows me to work. Once again, if this chills at the top, even though my air barrier may be mixed in with it because I put my ingot in, it still is acting like an air barrier because it's chilled. As soon as the lead is molten, my air barrier again floats to the top just like a cork, and I'm able to go on and continue. Now this rod offers some assistance as well. As you'll see me heat with a torch, the ingot, if I want, I can come down here and heat this rod. This rod goes all the way down to the drain and will carry the heat down into the cell, allowing me to move forward much faster. So I think I've covered just about everything that you'll need to know as far as how to cast. There are other difficulties that can occur with your lead pot. There are other problems that can occur with your mold. Sometimes they'll need repairs. I cover those type of things in my book. There's just not enough time on a video like this to cover all of that information. So my book is more than about casting. You can make shot, you can make bullets without loading equipment, you can do all kinds of things, powder, primers, make your own gun parts, how to harden metals. So I cover quite a bit of information. Now we're going to go forward and I'm going to show you bullet casting. A lot of guys, when I tell them that I can cast continually, who cast bullets, they say you're crazy, it can't be done. But nonetheless, my method works.